Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? We are going to get started here shortly. I missed you guys. I didn't see you last week. Little update on the eyeball. It's getting better. It's getting better. So there's Ken. Hey, Ken. I am adding you onto the screen. This work.
Ah,
Who needs
technology.
it? Who needs a test run?
That's right. Just dive right in.
Just go for it.
10 minutes late. That's
It's
all.
all good. It's all good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. Well, I'll do my sharing thing. You go ahead and introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are and where you work and what you do.
Sure. Um, Name is Ken Ashcom. I'm sure a lot have seen me around. Spray foam worldwide for sure. And in the industry for, I don't know, 15 years now. At least going on it. I think this is my 14th year
Oh, okay.
in the spray foam industry. Started out on the applicating end. Entered an ad one day, for sales after I was done being a general contractor, and
Oh,
it
okay.
happened to be a spray foam company.
Oh,
And
okay.
only thing I knew about it back then was what I saw on this old house. So I
Right.
was like, well, it looks cool. Let me figure it out.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started diving into what the product is and what it does, and just how wonderful it is. I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the building science, and since then, I just been off and running. You know,
Right. Because
I
building,
moved.
I think the thing that's going to be interesting about today is not, we don't often have conversations a lot about building science. So I'm excited for
Okay,
to talk about that for sure. So you've been, so married, not married, kids,
married.
married, yeah.
I'm married 23 years now.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, I have a 20-year-old daughter and a 29-year-old son. Um, Both are out of the house.
There we
So,
go.
um, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
Frees up my time to focus on the spray foam industry.
right.
Um, but yeah,
So you were a general contractor before you were in the spray foam industry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Had my own, contracting company with,
Hmm.
a dozen or so employees. And, unfortunately, one day I woke up and did some math, which is the worst thing to
Yeah.
do when you're in business for yourself. And you calculate the amount of hours you're putting in versus what you're taking home, after
Yes.
everything else is paid.
Hmm.
It turned out I was paying several of my guys more than I was getting paid.
Right.
And I'm like, something's got to change here.
Right.
Um, and it was back when my daughter was just born. And, when you own your own business, I'm sure everybody out there can empathize here is that you spend, you know, sun up to sundown and then some,
Right.
working on the business,
Yes.
doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
Because, when you're small, you have to do it all, you
Yeah,
know.
that's right.
Um, so I chose to step back a little bit and go work for somebody,
Hmm.
um, which turned out to be a fantastic decision.
Right.
But now, fast forward, 15 years, I'm now working for myself again. So,
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Yes. So
but I
you,
think I learned a lot
yeah,
on the
along the
way.
way, right? So you, the first company you worked for was,
It was acoustical spray insulators in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
oh, okay.
Great company,
Hmm.
old school company, back, they started in 1964, got into spray foam in the early 70s, and so when I walked in there, it was just, a well established, well running business. So I learned a lot, not only on the spray foam end of things, but on the, how to manage and run a proper business.
Hmm.
So, I greatly appreciate that learning lesson that I got there. And I
Right.
spent 6 or 7 years with them, went from sales to sales management to, operations managing, and, it was all kind of combined because, I was paid off of a percentage of profit schedule.
Okay.
which I still believe is the right thing to do in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's takes a salesperson in, if the job's not profitable, you're not making money. If it's
Right.
more profitable, you make more money.
Right.
So it makes the salespeople sell it correctly first, and then um, turns them into kind of a project manager all in one, because the better they set the guys up to get out there and succeed, the better the job will do, the more money everybody makes.
Right.
So,
We've seen that
and
we've seen that comment a number of times where the people doing the actual job are mad at the salespeople because they didn't sell the job correctly.
yeah, and that really stems from the majority of people out there will, give a percentage of the gross sale to a sales guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that does not incentivize them to, set things up right.
Right.
So if that job goes completely south, they still make their 10%, or if it goes great, they still make their 10%, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not incentivized to make it go great. So,
Right.
it just makes sense to give them a percentage of the profitability of the job, which just makes the company need to do the right thing and
Mm-hmm.
estimate based on a time and material stance instead of just a blanket board foot pricing. And, so it's a lot more work on the company side, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the right work to do.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Running a business is just about as important as pulling that trigger, is learning how to run a proper business
Yeah.
and knowing your margins, knowing productivity.
Mm-hmm.
So many people, when they estimate on a board foot pricing schedule, it's quick, it's easy. They can
Mm-hmm.
go, okay, there's you know 20,000 board foot, and I'm going to slap a number to that, and here's your estimate. Now I can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So it's quick and easy, and I get it. But at the end of the day, after the job is sold, after the job is completed, there's no real way to know if you made money on that job.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in this industry, we're a maturing industry,
Yeah.
um, but it's not yet matured. So a lot of people get into the business, which is admirable, and that's what we're here to do, is to help that process of people getting in and developing the right business habits.
Right.
But they get into the business, and at the end of the day, they don't do the work. They don't do the real work that it takes to run a proper business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can skate by for years that way.
Right.
Um, but that's exactly what you're doing, is skating by. They really don't know, what kind of money they're making or where they can improve efficiencies, and that all stems from estimating on a board foot pricing schedule.
Right.
But that's one of the things, or the training classes that we now provide at Spray Foam Partners. I
Oh, you
didn't
do?
get to
Okay.
introduce who, yeah.
Yeah.
So, from acoustical spray insulators, I went to La Pola.
Mm-hmm.
Great company, great people, great product.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 8.5 years with them in the field sales position, and I built my customer base on the services I help them with. Providing that extra level of support that really helps them grow their business.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I never really looked at myself as a salesman, as a person that just goes and sells a product. I always looked at it as, I'm a business consultant, that the way I get paid is by selling you this product.
Right.
And that's why I was happy to stay with La Pola, because they had a great product that I never had to run out and make excuses for in the field, because
Mm-hmm.
that would just waste my time and be an inefficient use of my time. So, seeing how the industry's changing, I decided to venture out a little bit, but
Right.
not too far.
Mm-hmm.
Where we now have my own distribution company,
Okay.
where um, my customers came over with me, and they're buying directly from me. Now, all those support services that I was doing for my customers, I've systemized and put into a program where they can now go online and get these services. And all they need to do to get those services is to buy product through us.
Okay.
So it's basically took what I was doing at La Pola and now doing it for myself, but we're still representing the La Pola product.
Right.
So, like
Yeah.
I said, I didn't move far, but
Right. Just a
I
little
moved.
bit of a pivot. So
Just a little pivot.
yeah. And I know you and I talked before, and I said, I don't think people really know I don't think they understand or know what you do totally, because you're kind of like, I say this to a number of people actually that I work with. You fly under the radar, and people don't, they maybe know you, but they don't fully understand what everything that you do.
Yeah, I'm admitting that I'm of an older generation
Yeah.
now, which I
Hey,
think you and I are around the same
it's
age,
all
so
good. The older
it's.
generation's
But you
good.
understand what I'm saying,
I
right?
understand what you're saying.
Um, where the social media hasn't been, the forefront of my life.
Right.
Um, but from a marketing and sales and business standpoint, I see how valuable it is,
Hmm.
and certainly that's been proven, over and over on this, through Spray Foam Worldwide.
Yeah.
How that social media group can bring everybody together and really create a platform where we can work together to build this industry as
Right.
opposed to you know anonymous enemies out there because they're quote unquote competition. you
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
and it doesn't need to be. I've
No.
always made a habit of befriending my closest competition,
Hmm.
because you never know when I'll need something. I never know when they need something. We might as well work together. As long as we're
Yes.
all doing the right thing in the industry, that's
There's
ideal.
there's enough business to go around, and
There is.
yeah, and I was having that very conversation with somebody this week and talking about, and he was surprised that he had some competitors that were willing to help him. And when he was having some issues with something, and he said it's like before that group or before we even knew each other, that would have never happened. We would have
Right.
just stayed enemies, or not necessarily enemies, but you just didn't speak to them or you didn't make time for them. And he said, it's such a stupid thing that we've created that kind of space. And it's when we can all make money, we can all work, we can all help people. It's a big enough industry to do that.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, something like Spray Foam Worldwide, where you're now able to connect with other people in the industry that are well outside of your direct area,
Mm-hmm.
is is fantastic. And
Right.
it's one of the other things we're developing, with Spray Foam Partners is sort of not a Facebook group, but a builders owners type of group,
Mm-hmm.
or a business owners type of group where we now have 4 warehouse locations. We're adding everyone more every week across the country,
Yeah.
and that's the first thing we realized is that when we're talking with these mid-sized successful applicators is they figured out some stuff to get
Mm-hmm.
there. And some of our other customers may be struggling with those same questions and they've already figured it out, and vice
Right.
versa. So we're putting that group together,
Mm-hmm.
um, just to try to connect those dots in the industry for the business owners.
Right.
Spray Foam Worldwide's great for the sprayer as a sprayer community, and
Mm-hmm.
but there's nothing direct out there just for the business owners to openly communicate.
Got it.
So that's just another one of the support programs that we're putting in.
Okay.
Um, so basically, that's what Spray Foam Partners is.
Mm-hmm.
It's all developed around these support programs and trainings, and we just launched the Tilt the Drum program, which is a sprayer rewards program.
Okay.
So every set of sprayer sprays, they tip the empty drum over or tilt it over
Mm-hmm.
and scan a QR code on the bottom. And it's kind of like at the coffee shop where every 5 stamps you
Oh,
get
yes.
to
Yeah.
that, you get a T-shirt from Mike from
Ah,
the sweatshop. You know,
okay. That's
so
cool.
you stamp those 5 stamps. It takes you right over to an order page. You pick which shirt you want, the size, and then put in your address, and then it gets shipped up to Mike, and Mike ships it out to that customer.
Ah, okay.
And and for us, it's just a way to say thank you for the sprayers.
Yeah.
You know the quality of sprayers that we have out there now can really dial any product in, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
There's some products that are better than the others, and there's always going to be that argument. But when it comes down to it, it is the skill of the applicator that's going to make the most of that. And most manufacturers or distributors, they care about the guy writing the check to them, which
Right.
is usually the owners of the companies. um, and manufacturers will periodically throw out a swag, but that's such a random act.
Right.
You never know when it's going to happen, and it's not associated to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured, this is a way to, say that we love you guys.
Yeah.
This is you guys are doing the hard work.
Right.
I'm old, I'm older, so I don't want to get out there and do that stuff anymore.
Right. Well, and
So I appreciate them.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's just that little bit of acknowledgement that
Yeah,
that makes a difference in somebody's day. It really does. It's not that, people don't need a attaboy every 2 seconds, but once in a
right.
while it's nice to have that. Well, like, they really actually, that's pretty nice. They care about us. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's just a pure cost on our end, and the
Mm-hmm.
shirts aren't spray foam partner shirts. They're the cool stuff that Mike puts out
Yeah.
there. So, um, this is a pure thank you. There's
Mm-hmm.
not promotion involved or any of that. So,
Yeah.
and that's what's beautiful about my new company. I have a partner in it, and
Mm-hmm.
we're both in the spray foam industry.
Right.
We're foamers. We bleed foam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about, what can we do to make our industry better? What can we do to help our customers grow, in business and applicating? And
Right.
we just did a 3-day training down in Virginia,
Okay.
certified applicator training.
Mm-hmm.
It was in conjunction with Lapola. But that's important.
Yeah,
It's super important for people to pull their guys out of the field for a couple of days and put them through these trainings.
it really
Even
is.
if even if they've been spraying for a long time, there's so many things that they can pick up,
Right.
from the techs in the field. And that's the beautiful thing is, these experienced, so we lean on the Lapola techs to come and do that hands-on side of the training. But those Lapola techs have been around, and
Yes.
they've seen what people have done. They've
Mm-hmm.
seen what they've done to get them out of their own troubles, and they absorb that stuff and then pass on to the next person. So,
Right.
and unfortunately, when you have existing sprayers, they develop habits, and
Right.
they're not always good
Not
at it.
always
So,
good.
um, and sometimes it's just a matter of saying, "Hey, did you ever think about doing it this way?" And
Yeah.
they go, "Holy crap, that really would make sense." And now they just did something that could improve efficiencies by 10, 20%.
Right.
At the end of the day, by them doing better, the company makes more money,
Mm-hmm.
and they get out there and sell more product, and everybody stays employed. It's
Right.
it's just a simple cycle.
Yeah.
And we want to be part of that mix because, we're providing the support services,
Mm-hmm.
and the product. So we want to be, more than just, a distributor.
Yes.
We are a spray foam partner, which is why we named it that.
Yeah. That's a great name, actually. I like that. That's awesome. So, how important is knowing your building science in all of this?
Well, that's really, like I said, when I started learning about spray foam, I started taking building science courses to try to figure out, connect all those dots.
Mm-hmm.
And in every building science class that I've ever taken, the number one benefit or that you can provide to a building is air sealing. And spray foam
Mm-hmm.
does that first and foremost. So we have the product that solves those problems or,
Mm-hmm.
answers those questions. So, the more I learned about the problems that are in buildings, the more that I see spray foam as a natural answer. And, they go hand in hand, the building
Mm-hmm.
science and spray foam. And on the sales side of things, if you're not using the building science to help you sell, you're crazy.
Right.
There's so many people that run around and sell on price. Um, this is a premium product. It should be sold at a premium price.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're paying a premium for the product. I know
Right.
that for a fact.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so for the spray foam chemical. So you got to sell it properly, and you got to know your margins. You got to, run a proper business.
Mm-hmm.
But that really does go hand in hand with the building science.
Yeah.
When you can go in and talk to a customer intelligibly
Mm-hmm.
and explain to them why this works, you're going to win out just about every time if you have competition going in there.
Right. So what would you say when you're talking to a customer and you're trying to explain that to them? What would be the number one thing that people, like just general people not in the industry, what is it that they don't understand probably the most?
Well, on the sales side, this is
Mm-hmm.
one of the sales nuggets we throw at people all the time,
Mm-hmm.
is that you need to sell on comfort, because people, they care about energy savings and all that
Right.
kind of stuff, but it's not a driving force. They care about their comfort. They care about their family. They want to do what's right,
Mm-hmm.
by their house. So, I have a whole PowerPoint presentation that, I can, pass along to applicators that they can put on a tablet and walk right through
Mm-hmm.
that presentation to walk them through all the different steps of how the building science affects comfort. And you kind of build like a court case,
Right.
in your court of law.
Mm-hmm.
And then you should be left with only one objection, and it's the biggest one we all get every day, and
Mm-hmm.
that's price.
Yeah.
That's when you bring energy savings into the equation.
Right.
When you can say, look, yes, we know this is more costly, but it's a true investment. And that's what we use our energy modeling service to do,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the new construction side. We
Yes.
have a service that we can, well, the process will go like this. The builder or the salesperson at the spray foam company would send us prints on the building.
Mm-hmm.
We would then do a side-by-side comparison of that building. We build it in a computer modeling program, do a side-by-side comparison with one building having fiberglass and the other building having spray foam. And then it'll tell you how much more efficient that house is going to be on a percentage basis.
Okay.
Typically, we're anywhere from 40 to 60% more efficient on the heating side, and 40 to 50 on the cooling side.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll change based upon where you are in the country, of
Right.
course. Um, but that comparison right there is powerful. But then it breaks it into an estimated average yearly savings and a monthly savings,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where it becomes powerful.
Yeah.
So, if they were going to spend, $2,000 to put fiberglass into the house, and foam is $7,000, that $5,000 added to their mortgage is maybe going to be like 40 some dollars a month.
Right.
And then we can show them that in that example, it probably be well over $100 a month they're saving in energy. So at that point, it's an investment.
Yeah.
You're spending $40 to save $100. You're grossing, you're netting, 60 extra dollars a month in energy savings.
Yeah.
So this stuff literally pays for itself in the very first month. And once you can present it in that fashion,
Mm-hmm.
it no longer becomes an additional cost to the build.
Right.
It becomes an actual investment in their home.
Right.
And that's when light bulbs go off, and that's when sales are closed.
Yeah.
And I have people using this religiously as a selling tool. So they get these reports done before they ever go out there and talk to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And they close over 70% of the new construction projects they look at. And
Right.
the beauty thing is that they're not putting in a prescriptive R value of spray foam. Those reports are based on putting less spray foam in.
Mm-hmm.
So putting an R13 in the walls and an R20 under the roof. And I can guarantee compliance from zone 1 up to 6.
Right.
7, you need to put a little bit more in.
Mm-hmm.
6, I like to see a little bit more too, just for my own comfort zone.
Yeah.
But the program still works, with
Yeah.
those thicknesses. But that's stuff that we talk with each of those applicators in their markets and decide what's best and what they're comfortable selling.
Mm-hmm.
So we're giving them the ability to sell more jobs.
Right.
Because, up in the Northeast or the northern section of the country, you're required to put a 49 or greater
Mm-hmm.
of R value in an attic space, and try to do that with spray foam. It just becomes cost prohibitive,
Mm-hmm.
just simply cost prohibitive. You'll find some people that are willing to pay, but most of the times they're going to say, well, I can just put an R49 of fiberglass in for a fraction of that price, and
Right.
they'll just move back to fiberglass.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think too, people, what they don't really, it's because of the lack of understanding of the industry out in the general public, I think. But people, I think, go towards, they're thinking about their house, they think about their windows, they think about,
Hmm.
that type of stuff. They don't necessarily, the insulation part of it,
Absolutely.
they don't put any thought
It's
into
hidden.
it, because it's
It,
like, and they think about warmth, but I don't think they put a lot of thought into keeping the house cool as well, and
yeah,
how that
no,
all
it's
factors in.
absolutely true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in Pennsylvania, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit more of a northern climate.
Yeah.
So, um, anytime it gets cold, like it's just starting to get a little bit chilly here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, drop below freezing for the first time,
Yeah.
which is a little bit early. Um, I'm sure it's different up where you're at,
Well, it's
but
it's a little chilly here. We're not as bad as some places. I mean, I've got friends that are still trying to get their crops off in Saskatchewan, and it snowed there, and yeah, so
yeah,
it's
no, it's
getting there
crazy.
for everybody.
But I'm used to dealing with a predominantly heating, season, and
Mm-hmm.
that's
Right.
where people see or feel the challenges,
Yes.
and that's when they decide they need insulation. But
Mm-hmm.
if you go to the southern, it's just the opposite. They're
Right.
looking at heat control, or yeah, and insulation in general is meant to do both.
Right.
So, but you're right. In most markets that are predominantly heating or predominantly cooling, they forget about the other half on how well the insulation will work. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really a perception, and a consumer perception
Yeah.
that about insulation. And you're absolutely right. It's not seen. It's not pretty. It's
Yeah.
it's not granite. It's not the jacuzzi tub. So
Right.
somebody building a home generally overlooks those things.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause they've been building houses with fiberglass for years.
Right.
Let's put granite in.
Yeah.
Well, granite goes in everything anymore, but the upgrades.
Yes. It's
Fortunately, people are catching on.
yeah.
It's not as bad as it was 15 years ago, and a lot of that is shows like This Old House and all the other home
Mm-hmm.
improvement shows that brought spray foam into the public limelight.
Right.
And you can see the progression even in those shows where 10 years ago they would say, hey, we're going to spray foam this house and this is why, and then they would spend some time explaining it and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Now you watch those shows and like, yeah, we're going to insulate, and then they switch to 10 seconds of watching foam being installed, and then they
Right.
move on.
Yeah.
I liked it when they explained it because that was free advertising for
Right.
us, but it shows the progression of,
Mm-hmm.
of the the consumers awareness of the product.
Yeah.
So,
I
and people know about it now, so which
mm-hmm.
is a great thing. and
Yes.
and also it's great to understand that people know that it's more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
so, and on the sales side, that's where a lot of people go a little bit wrong, is that you know they price and then the consumer complains, so they lower the price, and no matter what price you give them, they're going to complain about it.
Right.
So
Yes.
you might as well
It's
give
their
them the right price and stick to your guns.
that's their job.
Yeah,
That's
right.
their job, right? Is they're going to complain, and everybody, you guys have to like counter that. So that is
Yeah, and
part of the
sometimes
deal.
it's a matter of going, this is what we do. This is who we are. Sell yourself first. Sell
Yes.
your company, and the product basically sells itself if you just present it correctly.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you can always just step back and go, okay, you can take a chance by going with them because they're cheaper, or you
Mm-hmm.
can trust in what we do as an applicator, and this is why. and lay it all out. We're insured, we're trained, we're certified by
Right.
the manufacturer, all that kind of stuff, which is all vitally important to running a proper business, by the way.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
absolutely. And it always goes back to relationship building. It's not, if you're focusing on the price, that's not, you're not in the right job. You
absolutely.
have to build that relationship. It's everything we've just talked about.
Yep.
Price should be the last thing discussed, but it's what people like, that's the focus where it goes. And there's so much more around it than price.
Oh, absolutely. And if you don't, you know, discuss and sell those other things,
Mm-hmm.
when you come to the price battle, the only tool you have is to go, okay, I'll do it for less. And
Right.
at the end of the day, that doesn't help anybody.
No.
Um, hopefully you're paying your guys, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully you pay the supplier for the product you got,
Yeah.
and hopefully you pay your taxes and insurances and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, the only person that suffers by taking that mentality is the business owner. Uh,
Exactly.
and and in any business, like Business 101, the first thing you got to do is maintain a profit margin. Without a
Mm-hmm.
profit margin, you're not in business.
Right.
We don't need to practice in this industry. We need to
Yes,
make money.
that's
And
right.
um, and I'm not saying to take advantage of customers. I have a customer who has a price of $1.95 a board foot,
Mm-hmm.
and which is double what the market normally is. And they get it every day. They have 3 rigs out on the road, and they only do retrofit work, and they have their salespeople go in, follow a sales plan,
Mm-hmm.
and they close it,
Yeah.
because of that fact that the consumers know it's more expensive, and they're willing to go in and justify why the price is there, and then justify offset with the energy savings, and they close them every day.
Yeah.
So I hear that all the time, like, oh, I can't compete in the market
Yeah.
because everybody else is
It's
is
so
so
much
cheap out
cheaper.
there.
Yeah.
That's because you're not doing your job as a
Mm-hmm.
on the sales end and on the business end, where
Yeah.
you're not getting out there. And that's the other nugget that I try to throw at people is if you develop a marketing plan
Yeah.
and and then back that up with a sales plan. um, your marketing plan makes you the first person in. Your sales plan helps you close that deal, and then
Right.
it doesn't matter what your competition's doing,
Right.
because you generated the lead and you closed that lead. Let them swim in the bottom of the lake,
Yeah.
where we can, by doing it right, you can actually prosper
Mm-hmm.
in this industry.
Yeah,
Um,
you can. It was the same when when I used to do insurance, and my competition was directly across the street, and I would have,
mhm.
and he had a company that had better rates, and I'd have people come in all the time. We're going across the street and say, okay, we'll
Good
see
luck with
you.
that.
And it, about probably 8 out of 10, 6 months down the road, I can't get him on the phone. I can't this, I can't that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. Come back.
Yep.
It's those things. It's, if you're going to focusing on price, then you aren't that. Then those people aren't your customers either.
And really, uh, everybody's been in front of these customers that
Mm-hmm.
are so price focused, and and I've done it on my end too, is when the first question out of their mouth is, how cheap is this going to be?
Right.
Sometimes it's better to walk away from those people,
Yep.
because you're going to cut your price to the bottom line, and they're still going to be a pain in your ass. They're going to be
Yes.
riding you the whole time and try to
Right.
find any excuse to back charge you for something, or drive
Mm-hmm.
that price even lower.
Right.
And from a business standpoint, the best thing you can do is to pass that on to your competition.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. There you
let
go.
me let me give you this guy's number.
Here.
He's right up your alley.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
so you don't want to, and you don't need to close every customer. You
Yeah.
don't need every customer out there. Some of them are just not worth having as customers.
You know what? The customer is not always right.
No,
I have never agreed with that statement. It's, that opens you up for a whole line of other problems when the customer
absolutely.
is always right. No, they're not always right. And
And I've
that's why you guys are there. You're the professionals. You do know. But,
right.
I think people can, just as much as they're hiring you, you the guys that are out there, you're hiring them as well. So,
Right.
you know what? And not everybody's meant to work together. It's just fact.
No, like I said, even on the supply end, I, walked
Mm-hmm.
into a customer and he's like, my goal is to provide the cheapest possible price in the market. And if you can't be the cheapest foam guy, then we don't
Mm-hmm.
have anything to talk about. I said, well, I appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah.
for not wasting my time,
Right.
and got up and walked away. And he was there with his mouth agape because he thought he was, I was going to start swimming down
Yeah.
there and dropping price
Mm-hmm.
and, support and doing the proper business costs money,
Yes.
so that needs to be passed along into the price,
Right.
so even on the distribution side, our prices are market fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I will not say that I'm going to be the cheapest, and I
Yeah.
will never be the cheapest, because that cheapens me.
Right.
That cheapens everything that I bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise you, everything we bring to the table is going to be so much more valuable than saving a couple pennies a pound on foam.
Right.
You know, and that's the customers we look for. That's the ones that get it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we follow that same type of mentality. Is we don't necessarily want every customer out there, every spray foamer out there.
Right.
We want the ones that want to grow and want to learn and want to be a part of this industry like we are. And we
Right.
want to be that guiding source to really help people figure that out.
It's
um,
that partnership.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why we're spray foam partners, because
Yeah.
we truly look at every one of our customers as we're their partners.
Right.
And and the equation is so simple, it's not funny. The better they do is the better we'll do.
Right.
The more product they'll buy from us.
Yes.
So it comes out of a place of greed on my end, but it also comes out of a place of love, because I hate seeing businesses go under. I hate
Mm-hmm.
seeing them fail when they could do some simple things to increase and improve their business, both on the applicating side and the sales side and marketing, but also the business management side.
Mm-hmm.
All those things are tools that we bring to the table. My partner has the largest spray foam company in Philadelphia. I think there are 8 or 9 rigs flying around on the
Mm-hmm.
road every day. So that doesn't happen by accident.
Right.
Like I said, I bring that 15 years experience from both the applicating and um, the manufacturer rep side.
Mm-hmm.
And on the rep side, that gave me the ability to learn.
Right.
I always have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I use it that way. So I
Mm-hmm.
go in and I listen to people, and I hear what they're doing to be successful. And I also hear what they're doing that has not worked, which
Right.
is more important, so
Yes.
I can steer people away from those pitfalls to help them
Mm-hmm.
continue just to do proper business and increase margins, increase sales volumes. And, like I said, at the end of the day, we all win and the industry grows.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all here for.
Well, and I think, you add a lot to the conversation, and you also write articles and
Occasionally,
things.
eh?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, well, that's, I mean, a decade or so ago, I was started to be asked to do guest lectures and at different colleges and that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who am I?
Yeah.
But it's because I did dive heavily into the building sciences and connecting those dots as to,
Mm-hmm.
how important it is, for, the comfort level of the building occupants, as well as the longevity and, the sustainability of a building.
Right.
And when you do things wrong, you may not see it for a few years, but it's going to catch up to the building, and then a lot of times it's a catastrophe.
Right.
Buildings need to be torn down. When you don't follow proper building practices or building science practices. So
Right.
and anytime I'm asked to write something, I'm always happy to jump in and say, here you go, here's
Yeah, and
something for you.
you do it very well. I've read your stuff.
And like you said earlier, I feel like I do fly under the radar a little bit
Yeah.
because I'm always hyper focused on my customers as opposed to me and any type of grandstanding.
Yeah.
um, so my customers know me very well, and they use me. I always use this as a opening line in any sales training, which I did on Thursday, is, hi, I'm Ken Ashcom and I'm a tool. And which always gets a laugh. Um,
Yes.
but it's true.
Yes.
I am just, a sales tool. I'm a marketing tool. I'm a business management tool. And, and then when it comes to the field services, we have different tools for them.
Right. Yeah. No,
Not
that's,
the,
yeah. Little play on
sorry,
words there.
sorry, Don. I didn't mean to call you a tool, buddy. But
Oh, it's funny.
um, yeah, but it's like a hammer. It's useless unless somebody's willing to pick it up and swing it.
Right.
So I guess I'm a swinging tool.
There you
It's getting
go.
even worse. But
We've got a couple comments on here. I was going back
great.
to look. Hang on just a sec here. Oh, Foamstar says it's not about how much, this was back a little bit in our conversation, but it's not about how
Sure.
much you're going to save. It's about how long it's going to take to make. I think we're performance over perception. That was, when we were talking earlier, but yeah, those things. So in your course, can you talk a little bit more about your course?
Well, yeah, we have several training programs or several training courses. The one we typically do is either the certified applicator training
Right.
and that's in conjunction with Lapola. Then I do additional sales training for companies that have a large staff of salespeople. They're usually companies that have multiple product lines and they do other things other than, spray foam.
Okay.
So a lot of it starts out with product knowledge and then it moves into, how to sell and developing those things.
Okay.
And then we have our sales and marketing classes that are meant, kind of that the next stage of that initial sales program, where we dive heavily into, the ways to get out there and sell. It even gets down to acting it out, in the class, and which always is awkward for people, but
Right. Yeah.
after it's done, and they get out there in the field, they super appreciate it because this isn't that hard.
Yeah.
And especially new companies, they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So we helping to fill in those pieces on the sales side, and then the estimating side is huge, and that's a large part of that other training too. Is the estimating side. There's a lot of people, like I said, break it down to a board foot pricing, and that's it.
Right.
When there's so many other factors when you go out there into the field to consider, that board foot pricing will get you into trouble. Like if you go to do a crawl space that you can walk in, the guy's just running and spraying. It's a beautiful, beautiful job. But if you've got another one where, it's like 2 feet and all stone and rock and dirt
Yeah.
and, that one's going to probably take 3 times as long to do. But if you're on a board foot pricing, you price those two things the exact same way.
Right.
One you're going to win on, one you're going to lose on. And I hear that all the time. It's like, oh, it just averages itself out. And I'm like, that's just lazy,
Right.
honestly. Factor those things in. Even if you're doing it on a board foot pricing, add something, and it's going to be a lot more time to do something.
Well, and I think,
Or if it's a tiny job,
yeah,
they're horrible too.
people forget about, I don't know if they forget about it or they just don't really think about it's the time has to be factored in there. Now,
Time is the big part of the equation.
Mike and I talk about this all the time just with him and I. It's the time is, you get caught up in what you're doing, so you don't think, oh well, it's no big deal, I'll just, talk to so and so, or I'll just do this job, it's not a big deal, and it ends up being 2 or 3 hours later. Well, if you don't factor that in, what's happening? Like, you're losing.
Right.
You have to factor your time in.
Yeah, I came from like I said, the contracting world. And,
Yeah.
if you're building an addition, there's literally thousands of things, things you need to
Right.
be aware of,
Mm-hmm.
both on the material end and the time it's going to take to do each one of those little items. You
Mm-hmm.
know, spray foam is simple.
Yeah.
We have one product. It was one product,
Yeah.
different variations thereof, but and so the factor it as a time and material is easy. It's just
Right.
people don't do it because it's much more easy to just slap a board for price to things.
Right.
And we even provide a free spreadsheet that they can use to break things down into a time and material stance. And at the bottom, it actually has, the profit margin that you need to add to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it breaks it into a sellable price. And as a gut check on that estimating form, it also breaks it into a board foot price.
Yeah.
This way, you're within the market range.
Right.
But if you needed to cut a corner somewhere or to shave something or whip your guys harder,
Mm-hmm.
you know which column to put that in.
Right.
Or if you jump to something like an HFO foam where you're going to get higher yields,
Mm-hmm.
in the summertime, and you're spraying 3 inches, you might as well factor that into it.
Right.
So that general board foot price doesn't take anything into consideration. So
Mm-hmm.
that spreadsheet will break it all down. And then there's a second page to the spreadsheet, which is a side-by-side comparison sheet. So everything you did on that first page goes into the left column. And then you get to go back and add in all the actual stuff, all the time it
Right.
did take, all the material that was used, the Tyvek suits, the gas it took to get to the jobs, all
Right.
that kind of stuff is broken into columns. You plug those numbers in, and then down at the bottom it tells you actually how much money you made on this job.
Right.
It's simple, and now
Mm-hmm.
you know what you're doing. And the beauty part of that is, if you estimated, 200 hours for this job,
Yeah.
and it turned out to be 300 hours, you got to go, holy crap, something's wrong here.
Yes.
And the first thing you do is look at the sales guy and see if they screwed up, because
Yes.
that's the easy one, because that
Yeah.
happens. I
Exactly.
promise it
Yes.
happens. But it also gives you a jumping off point to know if something is not happening correctly in the field,
Mm-hmm.
and at least gives you a place to start and go see what you can do to improve efficiencies.
Right.
I had a customer who didn't follow these guidelines and were doing a normal day-to-day operation, and they do a lot of crawl spaces. So
Mm-hmm.
they're guys, I showed up on the job site, jumped in the back of a rig, and the pressure's down to like 800 psi, and I'm like, oh my God, why?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we do crawl spaces and we don't want it to splash back at us as we're spraying it, so we turn the pressures way down. How they were making good foam at that pressure, well, good foam would probably be a debatable
Yeah.
topic there.
Mm-hmm.
But minimally they were losing 20, 30, maybe 40% yield in the product by
Mm-hmm.
doing that. It's just so the sprayer can not get some foam splashed on his mask.
Right.
At the end of the day, if nobody's following that, that is a habit that could happen for years.
Right.
And the people taking it on the chin is the owners of the company.
Yeah.
And it's their fault for not putting tools in place to protect themselves.
Right.
So again, bringing all that, those decades of knowledge together,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing what others done, what they've done wrong, we put this into a program, where we can help applicators, do good business out there
Right.
and increase their business, increase their profitability, and decrease their headaches.
Yeah.
And that's key.
So is it people just you're located in Pennsylvania, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. So are you working with people in other states and all across the states,
Yeah,
or how?
we're Spray Foam Partners is 4 months old. So we're a relatively new entity.
Okay.
Um, but it's two faceted. The what we've been talking about for the last almost hour
Mm-hmm.
is all part of the Spray Foam Partners base of why people work with us and
Right.
buy product through us.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the warehouse and distribution arm of it, and that's something we've been doing, with my business partner. We've been doing it for about 4 years successfully in Philadelphia. So we
Mm-hmm.
have the logistics figured out,
Yeah.
so, and that company was set up just to do warehousing and shipping. They didn't do any selling. All that was left up to the manufacturer at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking that model of that warehouse and shipping model
Mm-hmm.
and turn it into our warehouse partner model. And now we're duplicating that across the country and using um, existing applicators to partner up with medium-sized, well-respected applicators
Mm-hmm.
in different markets to be that warehouse partner for us. We're still taking care of all those support services through Spray Foam Partners, and driving sales and taking care of the sales. We're handling all the credit to customers and all the customer interactions handled through us, but those partner warehouses just handle the storage and
Okay.
shipping of our product.
Mm-hmm.
And that's allowing us to quickly expand across the country. Right
Yeah.
now we have, 4 locations mostly in the Northeast here, but we're
Mm-hmm.
working on setting several more up across the country in
Oh,
Colorado
good
and
for you guys.
Minnesota and Texas and down
Mm-hmm.
in Florida. And yeah, we have a, a lot of great interest from good people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
um, and we limit that to those medium-sized applicators, ones that are doing like a half a truckload a month,
Mm-hmm.
because they're the ones that have matured enough to be um, they're a sensible business partner for us.
Right.
They're the ones that understand the parameters in which to store the product and why it's so important to get out there with the right chemical to the right people at the
Mm-hmm.
right times and all that kind of stuff, because
Yes.
they've suffered from the lack of that.
Okay.
Um, and you have big box type of distributors across the country,
Mm-hmm.
um, which are not happy about what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
because they care more about all that fiber stuff that's wedged into their warehouse, because they got these giant warehouses, huge overhead, and
Mm-hmm.
most of that's to store fluff.
Yeah.
When spray foam's a compact product, we all we need is 112 square feet of floor space, and then we're golden.
Right.
And again, those medium-sized applicators usually have warehouses that can accommodate that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, um, and we need them to be somebody that's well respected in those individual markets. This way, their competition won't be going, "Oh, I'm not going to go buy from that guy. He's the worst."
Right. Yeah.
There still may be that perception, but it's just perception.
Right.
But so far the concept is proving to be a winning concept,
Mm-hmm.
and we're progressing rather rapidly, and we don't see any time we're going to slow down in the near
That's
future.
great.
So
Yeah.
our goal is to have 30 of those locations opened up before the end of next year,
Oh,
and
wow.
um, and before 2020 I expect to be a quarter of the way there. So
Nice.
um, you know so things are great in that
Yeah.
respect.
Good for you.
So we found the formulas.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to handle the logistics and the warehousing and everything, and we have the tools to really help people grow their businesses.
Yeah.
And now we truly are becoming a partner with applicators
Right.
across the country.
That's great.
Um,
So we'll make sure that you put your links in the comments so people can find you.
Sure.
Yeah. What would you say would be your biggest, what would be the biggest lesson you've learned so far in this industry?
In the industry, well, it has to all revolve around the building science, and using that building science as a way to show the world just how wonderful spray foam is. And there's always challenges that will pop up for everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody's career is wrought with different challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about how you manage those challenges and overcome them. And that's another thing is, when there is a problem that happens in the field,
Mm-hmm.
with the different applicators out there, tackle them, get
Yeah.
right on top of it, and I promise you, the customers don't care that there was a problem. They care of how you take care of the problem.
Right.
And handling that problem correctly, you build a customer for life.
Yeah.
Some of my best customers are ones that things got screwed up on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to. Things get screwed up in our industry on a daily basis. So, you can spin that and turn those negatives into a positive. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I've take away from the decades of dealing with customers in the construction industry.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and I guess I also forgot to ask, how did you come across Spray Foam Worldwide? I always ask that question because I'm curious. How did we all come together?
Well, I got a good buddy who manages the tech services department of Lapola, Dan Kynard, and
okay, yes,
we're out doing a training one night, near the beginning, and he's like, "You really got to check this out," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, just social media nonsense."
Right.
And he's like, "No, this is cool. This is going to have some traction," and so right there he pulled out his phone and invited me to join the group, and since then I'm like, well, this is cool.
Yeah.
Before that, I always had LinkedIn as my professional social media platform, and Facebook as my personal.
Right.
So I struggled a lot initially with watering down my personal one with professional, but
yes.
Then you at some point you're just like, screw it, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And because reality is my professional life is more interesting than my personal ones.
Well, I mean, I think in that group, it's funny because you form these friendships and connections in there, and I mean, there is no more line, I don't think, of professional and business. It's just all or nothing.
Yeah, right.
Because you get, people just, they figure it out. So, but it's.
And I will ask of everybody that on their Facebook profiles to go in and like put where they're at.
Yes.
Because I do that all the time. There's somebody posts something and I'm like, well, that's an interesting comment or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, where is this guy? And I go on there and
it doesn't
now I have to look through pictures to try to guess what part of the country they're from or, where they're from.
I know.
It could be worldwide.
I do that all the time too with people that I work with. I'm like, you don't have your link to your work page. Like, you need to have that on you so people can find where you work. Like, what?
Right.
Don't hide it unless it's something's I don't know why you're hiding it.
Right. You can look at that sideways.
Go, what's going on
shady
here?
Yeah.
But
right.
It's funny how people they don't like to connect that. And I'm like, you got to connect it. How are you going to be found? Like,
right.
Get your.
And it's usually not for bad purposes. People like me can reach out and say, hey, I have something that'll help you.
Exactly.
But if the tools that I have really don't work in your area, I'm not going to bother you.
Yeah.
And that takes up a lot of time on my part when I'm, sitting around in the evening playing on the iPad, just going, let's do some investigating.
Yeah,
then I feel like then you feel like a stalker, a cyber stalker. I'm like, this is creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just creeping these pages tonight.
Just creeping. That's all.
All right. Well, do you have anything you'd like to say as a final? We'll wrap it up so we can get you back to your day.
Yeah,
But is there anything
no,
you'd
I
like to
appreciate
say?
it. No, it's just keep an eye out. We're adding a bunch of stuff to our website, which was supposed to be up last week,
Mm-hmm.
but in the technology
Yes.
world, things are
Yeah.
frequently get delayed.
Yes.
Um, but we'll have it's called Partner Smart.
Okay.
Where customers of Spray Foam Partners will be able to gain credits for every set of foam they purchase. So they
Oh,
get
okay.
10 credits for every set of foam they purchase, which is put into a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can go in there and use that bank of credits to purchase the support services like the energy modeling.
Okay.
And so it's just a way to connect those dots. And again, we want to be able to provide these services to our customers,
Mm-hmm.
but we want them to be our customers. The only way to be able to support
Right.
those services is to be able to have a product to sell, and like our price is market friendly,
Mm-hmm.
but part of those profits that we make off of the product get reinvested right back into our customers through providing these services.
Okay.
So check back in next week, the week after,
Yep.
and look for the Partner Smart button. It'll be right under the picture on the home screen.
Nice.
Anybody that is interested in coming on board, there's also a new customer setup button right
Mm-hmm.
there, so they just click it and fill out the information, and the rest is listed in support services on the drop down menu.
Mm-hmm.
Spend some time,
Yep.
look through that and see what will help you build your business. And we're here to foster that growth. We're here to support.
Excellent.
And that's what Spray Foam Partners does, is
Yeah.
we're a support entity that the way you pay for the support is by buying foam, which you'll be doing anyway from
Right.
somebody. So why not do
Exactly.
it from people that's going to have your back
Exactly.
and help you grow?
Yeah.
All right.
Ken Wells said they should also put their insulation zone in there on their profile. I agree. Then it would really make it much simpler, right?
Yeah, right.
All right. Well,
I agree with that.
I'm so glad you came on, Ken. It's been, I mean,
No,
we
I
booked,
appreciate it.
like, gosh, we booked this back, like, I don't remember how many
Two and a
months
half, three
ago.
months ago.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a while ago. So it was like all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, he's on next. Like the time just goes by fast, but I'm glad you
Yeah.
came on.
No, I appreciate you having me on,
Yeah,
and
thank you so
and
much.
always happy to check in with you every Saturday.
Yeah, great. Well, make sure you'll put your links in the comments and go back. There's some comments on here so you can go back
Okay,
and answer them, but I
I will do
will,
so.
yeah. So thank you so much and we'll see you next time. And thank you guys for joining and we will see you all next Saturday. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye bye.